My name is Jensen Karp, and I'm a professional comedy writer, producer, rapper, and former morning show DJ. But above all else, I'm a sports fan. And here we are, almost a month into an unprecedented sports drought. And I want to be honest with you for a second. I'm extremely worried. ESPN is playing old WrestleManias, and NBA players competing in video games. We're scrapping the bottom of the barrel here because we're all just jonesing for sports. So it got me wondering, if I feel this bad about it all, then how do the athletes feel? So that's what this podcast is all about. I'm talking to athletes and sports industry professionals to see what they're up to, how they're holding up. Are they still training? Do they miss playing? Are they wearing a mask right now? Because honestly, even over the phone, we can't be too cautious. Anyway, this is the No Sports Report. One of the first players to be drafted straight from high school, Al Harrington spent 16 seasons in the NBA and played for 7 different teams: the Pacers, the Hawks, Warriors, Nuggets, Magic, Wizards, and the Knicks, if you consider them a team. Harrington averaged 13.5 points and a little over 5.5 rebounds per game, which are really impressive stats for a dude who had nagging knee injuries for over a decade. He also had a brief stint in China, playing for the Sturgeons, which makes me want to know the team names they didn't go with. And he was a playing co-captain of the Big Three trilogy, who not only won the league's debut season championship, they went undefeated. But since officially retiring last year, he's traded in the letters NBA for CBD, building the Harrington Group, a cluster of medicinal marijuana businesses that includes Viola Extracts, Harrington Wellness that manufactures non-psychoactive cannabinoid products, and Butter Baby, which specializes in edibles and was my high school nickname. With Al's history in the league, his time in China, his new experience as a small business owner, and with the NBA just deciding to put drug testing on hold during the quarantine, I figured now would be a great time to see what he's up to during this momentary stall. So, here's my discussion with fellow Trader Joe's analyst, Al Harrington, on the No Sports Report.
Call from...
This is Al Harrington.
To accept, press 1.
Al, how's it going, man? This is Jensen.
Good. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yep, no problem.
First off, I just wanted to figure out where you are during the quarantine. I didn't know where exactly you were sort of locked in these days.
I'm locked in Calabasas with my family.
That's just for the record. I am in Woodland Hills. I grew up in Calabasas. I even went to Calabasas High School. So I know that our food pickings right now are slim.
You're right. Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, but, we're figuring out a way to get through it all. Could be worse, I'm sure.
I agree. How are you guys passing time during this?
Well, we have 4 kids. So it's Amaya, she's 10, Alea's 8, little Al is 4, and then my youngest, his name is Austin, he's 2. Obviously during the week, they still have schoolwork, right? So they do Zoom calls with all their classmates, and they do that Monday through Friday. Been doing that with them, and then we go outside and we exercise. So, one of my daughters plays soccer, the other one is an equestrian. The boys are just, they just get on the play set, and then we walk the dog in the evening or whatever. So that's kind of been like our everyday kind of schedule for the last month.
Yeah, you're sticking to the homeschooling rules much better than I probably would.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And my wife, she's the real MVP for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I step in every once in a while. She's the one that does all the work, so I have to give her credit. But, we're getting through it. The kids are definitely a little stir crazy. They, whenever I decide I have to go to the grocery store or go to the bank or something, they're always trying to tag along just to get out the house. But, we're figuring it out.
Yeah. How are you finding supplies? I feel like we live very close to each other in the 818. I don't know if we have the best scenario. I think a lot of rich white people have basically panic purchased.
Yeah, but you know what? The only thing that's still on shelves, which, to me is a little mind-boggling. There's no toilet tissue and still no paper towels and no cleaning supplies. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand, running out of food and stuff, but, how are we running out of cleaning supplies? So, I always think that I have a little bit of conspiracy theory, within the way I feel about the way things are, unveiling or rolling out. But, I just don't understand how it's so hard to get alcohol and, different things like that back on the shelves. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me. But, we just got to just keep, just try to stay safe, stay in the house. And I guess if you stay in the house, you won't need none of those supplies anyway, I guess.
I know that Trader Joe's that's near our houses, I have seen people outside of their 6-foot distance in between them starting at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I've seen that too. So it's funny, like the Ralph. So I go to Ralph's, I go to Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
I also go to Erewhon as well. So believe it or not, those three places, a lot of times when I go, I guess I go in during the right time of the day. I haven't really had to wait in any lines to go in, but I definitely see that Trader Joe's. There's always a line over there, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So you were drafted at 18 years old. You spent 16 seasons in the NBA. You played abroad. You played in the Big Three. You basically haven't stopped conditioning and training since you were 18 years old. It's a kind of a crazy thing to look at. What does this lull do for you in that kind of regard? I don't know if you've ever had this many days in a row where you're not able to be physical in like a public gym or, scrimmaging against people.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've put down the basketball over the last 12 months where I have not been like actually playing, but obviously, wanting to take care of myself, I obviously do like 30 minutes to an hour of cardio every day, sit-ups, push-ups, when I get into a weight room and I'll lift weights or whatever. But trying to stay active has definitely been difficult just because usually some of my cardio is like hiking the trails and different things like that.
Yeah.
So, trying to be responsible and, I've decided to stay indoors. I have a Peloton bike, so I usually ride that. I just ordered some little boxing thing seen on Instagram for last week. Biggest thing is I don't want to, come out of quarantine, 30 pounds overweight. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't, help anybody, right?
Right.
So just trying to stay active. And, for me, it's pretty easy, right? Because like to your point, I've been active way before 18, right? Before I got drafted, as a youngster.
Yeah, because if I were you, after playing that much, like you said, probably since middle school, you've been nonstop basketball and sports in general. I would have gained 30 in the last 12 months. Even in quarantine, I'm like, have people been washing my jeans? They're so much tighter.
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny because I haven't had no reason to put on my jeans, so I need to probably go test them out to make sure I haven't. I'm one of those guys, I don't like getting on the scale. I just feel like the scale is always bad news, right? So I usually tell my weight by the clothes that I can fit.
Absolutely. I'm the exact same. I'm like, is someone drying my hoodies? There's no way. It's clearly my weight. It's not easy finding players who've experienced playing in China and what it's like. When you heard of the virus first popping up in China, what did you think as someone who was a former resident who played a little bit there?
Yeah, first thing I was thinking is I hope the players that are there, the Americans are trying to get home as soon as possible, not knowing that they was kind of, running right into something even worse than what they was dealing with, right? So obviously you just immediately just think about their welfare, their health and safety. Because, I was there and when I first got there, I got food poisoning and I remember going to the hospital there and it's nothing like the hospital we're used to here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So I could just imagine, one of those guys, were infected and would have to spend some time in the hospital. I'd definitely be concerned. So
yeah, what is the difference in the hospitals?
Everything.
As in more chaotic? Is it?
No, obviously I didn't go into the ICU or anything like that, but just the emergency room was just a big open space with tables all around. It reminded me of like a training room, like in the NBA or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So you got people in there coughing and doing whatever, and you're just all kind of sitting in one room. You know what I'm saying? So just seeing that, and the doctor that saw me, I thought he was the janitor because he was outside mopping the floor and everything. And then when they did their diagnosis of me, he came in and put on a doctor coat. So it was different. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I wouldn't want to be caught out there sick. That's for sure.
Have you been able to talk to any of those guys like Stephon Marbury? Or because I'm a super fan of his, and I know he went out there to coach and stuff. I don't think we're getting enough updates about those guys. Were they all able to come home? Do you know?
Yeah, they were all able to come home. It's funny, I actually talked to Stephon this morning. Yeah, he's back over there actually. So he came home when it first happened. Obviously, because all his roots there, he knew exactly what was going on. And he was actually, warning me and warning anybody that would listen, like on his social, saying that like coronavirus is serious, right? We need to start taking necessary precautions, you know what I'm saying, to, brace, for this hit, for the virus. And obviously no one listened. And, obviously, our president and different people was all saying it was a hoax. So nobody in the country took it serious. And now we look at, how serious this thing is with people, so many people losing lives and, the world actually coming to a standstill because of it. So he went back, you know what I'm saying? So, once they got it under control, he went back there, they quarantined him, they tested him, he was clean, and now he's back over there kind of living a normal lifestyle, before Corona hit China. So I hear now that there are more cases popping up or whatever in other parts of China, but I think where he is right now in Beijing or whatever, I think he's pretty safe.
That's awesome. So, what is your opinion with what happens next with the rest of the NBA season? Like, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about different situations with no fans, or if the season gets canceled altogether. Like, what would if you were still playing and active, and what would be your hope as a player for the rest of the season?
I mean, I would say it depends on where my team is at, right? So obviously if I'm one of the teams that, think that we can win the championship or really have a legitimate chance, you probably want to get back out there by any means necessary. But I think that, just knowing the rigors of the NBA and different things like that, I'm concerned with trying to, have these guys take a 6-week, 8-week, maybe 12-week hiatus when they're not allowed to go to the gym. And everybody's like, well, it only takes 12 days in training camp to get you in shape, but they've been training all summer.
Yeah.
They've been training for 4 or 5 months. You know what I'm saying? That's why training camp can keep getting cut shorter and shorter because, teams are confident that the guys are doing what they're supposed to do to take care of their bodies, in the off season. Mm-hmm. But right now, like guys are stuck in the house and they're doing, workouts in front of a TV and they're riding the bikes and different things like that. And, that's just not going to cut it. So if I was them, I would just say you kind of got to chalk it up, man, and just try to prepare for next season. They want to believe that they can have a strong season for 2021.
As you know, communities are experiencing these difficult times differently across the country. School closures, job disruptions, lack of paid sick leave, and the coronavirus' disproportionate impact on adults aged 60 and older and low-income families are all contributing to the demands placed on food banks across the country. So Feeding America, alongside their network of 200 local food banks, are actively coordinating with lawmakers, federal, state, and local agencies to tailor responses on a county-by-county basis, depending on what is most urgently needed to ensure our most vulnerable populations continue to have access to food and other needed resources during this emergency. Right now, their greatest need is donations and support of local food banks. Please visit feedingamerica.org to learn more about their response efforts and how you can help. Since you are a former Knick, I have to ask, it's such a mess. It almost feels like the coronavirus helped them this season with how much they were looking at. Like, is that team salvageable for 2021? How many seasons am I looking at as a sort of passive Knicks fan before I can start cheering in public?
I mean, so I'm like you, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a diehard Knicks fan. So I'm gonna say next year's our year.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe you.
Saying that for about 15 years, even when I was there. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I think they got different leadership. I like the Steve Stout hiring. I think that that's going to give the team credibility from the standpoint of like making the team sexy and getting the right people at the games and different things like that. Leon Rose, obviously, was definitely one of the better agents in the league. Great relationship guy. I think that he's a guy that can give the Knicks perspective of, why so many teams or why so many players was not willing to come and sign there, right? Yeah. And then I think they might, hire a rock star GM. I would hire Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, if they go this time without hiring him again, man, I just think that, maybe it is true that Mark Jackson is being blackballed or something because it's just, I just don't see no other coach out there that, could represent what New York is all about and, bring that swagger, which I think what we're lacking. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these other guys they've hired in the past, it just didn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Except for Fizdale. I like the Fizdale hiring, but, obviously, they just kept giving them a bullshit team to play with.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm actually a diehard Clippers guy, so I know what it's like to have to hire around someone that's not allowing people to sign there. It's kind of like a weird situation where you can make it the best with different coaches, with Doc Rivers, whoever it is. But at the end of the day, I wonder if it's that it has to change at the top,
Yeah. I don't think Dolan, I don't know. I may be wrong, but I don't think guys don't sign it because of Dolan, right? Because like I said, when I was there, unless he's changed a lot, like, you never saw him. You know what I'm saying? He was not in practice games. He was never around to the point where it would have made me feel any type of way about him personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why when he gets such a bad rap, I'm just like, damn, what is he really doing? Because I never got a chance to, like, really meet with him, or talk to him like that.
He's probably at, like, band practice.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, right. I mean, the fans obviously hate him.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it is, bro. I mean, shit. It's his team. It's his right to do whatever he wants with it. You know what I'm saying? It sucks because, New York is such a big market. And, New York, L.A., certain markets should always have very competitive teams. And just for some reason, New York had not been able to do it consistently.
Agreed. Well, something more positive and uplifting. Since retiring, you've built up this Harrington group. It is this amazingly impressive medical marijuana empire. It's like you're cornering the markets, including an edible company. You even have a brick and mortar store now. I know you've had knee issues throughout your career. What role does like cannabis play in that pain management?
Plays a major role for me, you know what I'm saying, for my quality of life, I feel is, amazing because of the plant, because of cannabis, because I have access to it. Obviously, I use the CBDs and, the hemp extract through my Harrington Wellness line. I have a product called Replay. And then on the Viola side, being able to, consume different strains that I've realized after testing them and different things like that are good for me. And, the way I recover after working out and live my life on a daily basis, you know what I'm saying, is allowed me to be comfortable. And, I really feel like if I had access to these type of products towards the end of my career, I honestly feel like I maybe could have played another season or two, potentially. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That is what a lot of people seem to think.
I mean, I think it's worth it to the league too, right? I mean, if you could have, God bless the dead, I would always say Kobe, you know what I'm saying? But, if a guy like that or a guy like T-Mac or something like that could have got 2 more years out of someone like a talent like that, and cannabis was the reason, you don't think it's worth it? Obviously, with the tides are turning, NFL moving in that direction to allow cannabis use. The MLB has completely went that way. I think the NBA is next, and NHL is next. And I think that they realize that it is beneficial to the players, and, the players want access to it. And at the end of the day, if you're talking about what's best for them, you should give them access.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder too, like, how is sales going for you guys in the pandemic?
They're going, obviously when everything first happened and the stay at home was issued, everybody kind of rushed to the dispensaries as if they were buying toilet tissue, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to stock up just in case. And then obviously once they deemed it essential, the sales have kind of settled back. I think cannabis is recession proof. I think that people will need it, obviously medicinally, and I think people will need it just on the everyday, just being able to cope with, all the other different challenges they have in their lives. One of them are kids right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the reason it became essential, only because people spent like 5 or 6 days with their kids and they were like, no, we need to do this now.
They need something, right? And I'm happy about that. So it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful plant, for our society.
Sure. And how difficult is it on a more broad spectrum of running a small business right now? Like you, amongst all of this being essential, you're a former NBA player who now has an essential business. That's extremely rare. How hard is it to keep it safe for your employees and such?
Not that we were prepared, but, we were able to adjust pretty quickly, right? And the key to it was that all the employees bought in. Like, I got an amazing staff. I mean, I have in 4 states that I operate in, where I actually cultivate, all 4 states, the growers and his teams were willing to 2-week in-home quarantine where you couldn't leave. They were all willing to stay. Bought cots and all this different stuff. And we had to set up in different parts of the warehouse so that they would be, have the social distancing. So, everybody just really kind of pulled their weight and was just willing to do whatever it took, for us to continue to operate. So, I'm definitely very, very lucky to have the team that I have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was thinking about it too, like about basketball and, it's such a progressive sport in the fields of like race relations and female referees and things that they've even female assistant coaches now, and hopefully a coach soon in the next few years. And I don't drink alcohol. It's sort of just a decision I've made on my own based on kind of how it makes me feel and act. But I always found it odd that we glorify alcohol during these like championship celebrations, yet we've demonized players like Ricky Williams or Robert Parrish over the years for smoking weed. Do you think there's ever a time where we cut back to the championship celebration and it's actually allowed for these guys to be smoking weed, that it's more of like a public thing for sports dudes?
Yeah, but, I don't see it being like in the locker room right after the championship. Where I kind of agree with people, it's all about the kids, right? You know what I'm saying? How they look at the players as being heroes, right? And kids want to mimic every single thing that we do as professional athletes, right? Yep. So when you look at like commercials, they don't show us drinking liquor, right? And I think that that's on purpose, right? Because you don't want to, we may promote it, but you don't sit there and drink it, right? And it's the same thing with cannabis. You know what I'm saying? I think it's okay for it to be known that players use it, but I think that in those type of environments where the audience is definitely younger kids, you don't want that to be shown. And I will say, like, even with that being said, I feel like with parents, the same way you sit down and have your conversation with kids about, don't touch my liquor cabinet, the same way you got to talk to them about cannabis. I feel like you should get ahead of it as a parent, because if you don't, some kid in school that don't know what the hell he's talking about or she's talking about is going to be the one that's going to be educating your kid about cannabis use and different things like that. So, my 10 and my 8-year-old, they understand exactly what I do and why I do it, and the benefits that I get from it, and the benefits that their great grandmother got from it, and even their grandmother and grandfather. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, at the end of the day, they're educated to know that, this is not for you at your age.
Mm-hmm. The NBA did have a step in the right direction during the quarantine for sort of allowing drug testing to be halted. Whether that's a step in the right direction or just for social interaction, we don't know. But what percentage of the NBA would you say smokes weed?
I think that, for one, it was definitely good for social interaction, because you didn't want some tested guy walking in players' houses or you not knowing where he'd been at, quarantine, the whole thing. So I don't think it would have anything to do with pushing the agenda forward right now. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's probably 80% of the players that use some form of cannabis. And what I'm learning, with these guys is they're not just smoking, right? They like edibles. Yep. They like the topicals, the CBD stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's definitely why I believe the number is that high, is because I think that they've all experienced some form of cannabis, at some point in their lives. And I think that, a lot of them have found the relief that they were looking for. They actually like to use it, and it's something that they prefer to use. So I think it's definitely that high.
God, I hope Boban smokes weed. That would be great. During the time away from the game, as a businessman yourself, what do you suggest for players that have this free time on their hands to broaden their horizons, to look sort of beyond the game during this break? I mean, what would you say, you who faced, your retirement and such and decided you wanted to keep working? These guys sort of have that right now. What would you suggest for them?
I always just say, as players, I think that we should just always continue to just learn our financial situations better. You know what I'm saying? Just like continue to just understand it, because, we do have a high net worth when we're done playing. And a lot of times, while you're playing, you have advisors that usually tell you, like, just focus on the court and make the money, and I'll invest it, and I'll make sure it's okay, blah, 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 blah. And then, over that time, you realize, like, as you get older in the league, you're like, okay, now I made a bunch of money. I want to keep making money. I want to be successful, as an entrepreneur. Now let me see what I can do. And sometimes, it's a little late, and, you find a lot of guys that are just throwing money at all kind of opportunities just because they don't really know what they want to do. Sure. You know what I'm saying? So I would just take this time to, understand your finances better. If there was some investments that you had been thinking about doing, or industry you thought about getting into, take this time to, learn about it, make the phone calls, reach out to the people that are actually doing it, and, try to, figure out if that's something that, you want to actually invest in or be a part of.
Sure. That's a great idea. So we sort of end with one positive thing. We try to get out of here with this coronavirus sort of bringing it down. There's not a whole lot of positive things we can find. But I do want to know first, and then something dumb, but first, is there anything that you hope in society that we've taken on during this time, during this quarantine, that we could maybe use in the future as a positive?
Man,
I'll give you one. You want me to give you one that I thought of today?
Yeah, give me one. Yeah, give me one.
You know what I'm not doing anymore, Al Harrington? I'm not hugging strangers. Nope. I'm barely hugging anyone who's not family at this point.
Okay, so good. So I guess one thing I could take out of this in that vein is I'm no longer sharing joints anymore.
There you go. That perfectly on theme too. Dude, that to me, even when I smoked weed a few times in college, I was like, no, sir, this already looks dirty.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I always say it's a together thing, man. Like, I will say that I feel like cannabis can definitely bring the world together. I think it can harmonize and bring us and get us all on the same page if we all used it. Mm-hmm. I think that sharing joints or blunts or whatever have definitely made lifelong friends out of people. You know what I'm saying? It definitely, put me in a room with people I never thought I would be in, and become friends with people that I felt were enemies. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. So, I guess, not sharing it, I hope it doesn't kill that. You know what I'm saying? Because I definitely felt like that was something that brought a lot of people together. But I guess sessions just have to be, everybody had their own thing and just, just smoke it and talk. Do the same thing, just without passing it.
I love it. Who, if you want to say, if you don't, it's okay. Who is the most unexpected person that you've smoked with in the past as an NBA player?
Most unexpected. I can't say the name.
All right. I'll just pretend that it's
Everybody.
Okay, it's Boban, right?
Hey, Boban, there you go.
Lastly, I have suggestions. I've basically, for your free time, I bring every athlete 3 ideas that I think you could get into during the time off. You obviously don't need a whole lot since you have a lot of children at the house, but still, these are 3 ideas that you could get into during the time off. You ready for these?
Yeah, let me hear 'em.
All right. 1, I think that you could expand Viola extracts. I think you could expand the entire Butter Baby service, the whole Harrington Wellness. I think you could get into at home in the kitchen working on your own Rice Krispie treats for munchies. My wife and I, this is why I bring this up. My wife and I made a ton of Rice Krispie treats. I don't even know if I like them. We made so many of them that I feel like I now could go out and sell them on the side of the street. And Rice Krispie treats better than you remember.
Yeah, Rice Krispie treats are definitely one of my favorite. My kids love them too. That's not a bad idea.
All right, there's 1. Second, you're an entrepreneur. How about this? We've lost movie theaters. They're no longer even in our lexicon of businesses. How about drive-in movie theaters, bringing them back?
That's a great idea.
See? Look at me. I'm a genius. Third, 1 more addition to the Harrington group. You team up with a fellow player in the NBA. You have some synergy amongst other sort of either newly retired guys or guys who will be playing when we get back into the league. But I want to introduce to you the JR Spliff. It is a large blunt that is endorsed by J.R. Smith.
Okay. Since JR is one of my little brothers and one of my investors in the company, I could definitely run that by him.
There you go. Didn't even know it, but you'll probably have to wait till he's fully retired because then he can go out and be like, nah, man, I use this JR Spliff. Can't really do that when he's in the NBA.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you talking to me, and hopefully I run into you here at the Calabasas Trader Joe's or something.
All right, cool. Nice talking to you, bro.
Keep safe.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Al. The No Sports Report is produced and distributed by Treefort Media. The show is executive produced by Kelly Garner, Lisa Ammerman, and me, Jensen Carter. Our series producer is Matthew Kugler. Tom Monahan is our senior audio engineer and sound supervisor, with additional production help from Tim Schauer, June Rosen, and Haley Mandelberg, with production and editing by Jasper Leak. Our theme music is composed by Spilkus. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please subscribe, rate us, and review us on Apple Podcasts. You have nothing else to do. Send it to your friends, tweet, share, post about it, do whatever you can. And please visit feedingamerica.org. And if you're able to make a donation, any amount will help make a difference. And you can learn more about other ways to help on their website. For more information on the No Sports Report, links to the socials, and for our show transcripts for the hearing impaired listeners, please go to treefort.fm. Be safe and be well.